Tim, can you see my screen?
I can.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for transforming Figma to clean code in seconds with Visual Copilot. Today, we're going to be talking about AI-enabled design to code for commerce teams. As we get in, I'm Mike Chirokas. I'm product marketing lead here at Builder.io, and I'll let Tim introduce himself.
Yeah, hey everyone. Tim Garibaldi. I lead our customer engineering and solutions team here at Builder, which means I'm working every day with our largest enterprise customers. And as a result, I like to think I have my finger on the pulse of what it is our enterprise customers and all of our customers are really, talking about, excited about, and doing in Builder. And that's why I'm super excited about today's topic, Visual Copilot, Figma import. It has been a huge topic for us. So really excited to dig into it with you, Mike.
So yeah, thrilled to have you here, Tim. Before we get started, I want to cover three important things. One, we're going to share this recording with everybody here via email as soon as possible after the webinar. And then we're going to mostly answer questions at the end. We've got a lot to get through. We're going to show a ton of demoing. We're going to show a ton of different types of importing, some live coding. So we've got a lot to get through, but we'll try and answer questions at the end. Please feel free to submit them, upvote questions as they come in. We've also got someone in the background you may see answering some questions, sharing some links. What we're going to show, it applies to sites of any size. The
Definitely.
site we're going to use as an example today is a pretty small headless commerce website. It's really got one or two products, but everything we're going to show can apply to sites with thousands of products, tens of thousands of products. It's built to infinitely scale.
Absolutely.
And so even if you're in a large company with tens of thousands of products, this still can apply to you and your organization. And then finally, we're going to be doing some live coding. I know we have a lot of developers on today and some architects and some tech leaders, but I know we also have a lot of designers and folks who aren't as familiar with the code. So make sure you stick around. Tim's going to show some code, show why the instances where we use code, the instances where we don't actually need to use code. And then I'll wrap it up and explain what he did. So even if you're a non-developer, stick around. You're definitely going to learn something here.
Always exciting when we get to live code with a live audience. So
Especially with
looking
large
forward
language
to it.
models and artificial intelligence involved.
Absolutely.
Um, so I'd like to introduce you to our case for today. It's called Pretzel Night, and Pretzel Night is a website that sells a DIY pretzel making kit. It's a real project. It's something I built in 2023 as a headless commerce website, just kind of a fun little side project. But we've got some real business objectives and some real data that we want to actually improve with this. So we're going to anchor everything to this example here. This website was built in a headless way, as I mentioned. So it's using Next.js on the front end, TypeScript, and Tailwind. But really, you could have used any framework. Everything we're going to show can apply for any of the frameworks that we see. And same thing, it uses Shopify as the backend with the commerce as the commerce backend. But really, you could apply this to any other commerce backend. A lot of the folks that we work with use commerce tools or commerce layer or Kibo Commerce or BigCommerce, Salesforce Commerce. This applies to any of those. It uses Builder as the content management system. And it uses Netlify for hosting, but of course you could also use Vercel or any other AWS front-end cloud and Google Analytics, but you could replace your own analytics. Thing is, I have three problems with this website, Tim, that we're going to try and solve today. I have a poor add to cart conversion rate. So these are real stats, by the way. If you come to the Pretzel Kit page, 12.5% of unique users that visit that page actually click add to cart. I'm pretty happy with that, but I think we can do even better. And another problem I have is that I have a low margin per order. Each box sells for $35, but including shipping and packaging and hard costs, it costs me around $23. And so I'd like to actually increase my average order value. And then finally, I've got a high homepage bounce rate. So 50% of users that come to my homepage don't go to a single page after that. And ideally, I'd love to funnel them to the product detail page for the Pretzel Kit. say one more time, like this is kind of a, the pretzel example is a small example, but these are kind of problems that a lot of these teams, yeah, if you want to.
I mean, I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, this is the stuff that we talk with our customers about all the time. And, a lot of our customers would probably be very happy with these numbers, but I think there's always ways that we can improve, um, you know, especially, since you're not doing any sort of kind of personalization or targeting or anything like that. So there's a lot of room to kind of explore.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it. And so what are we gonna build to accomplish this today? In the next 45 minutes, hopefully, Tim. We're gonna add some testimonials to build some credibility. So hopefully, when folks come to the Pretzel Kit page, they'll see that other people have had a great experience making these pretzels. We're going to create a shopping cart add-on. So when you add a kit to your pretzel to your shopping cart, we also recommend another product for you that you can just click a button and add to your cart. And then finally, we're going to create an A/B test on the homepage that hopefully helps funnel more people from the homepage to the pretzel kit page. Awesome. So let's jump into it. Tim, the first thing I want to do is I want to add some testimonials to the product detail page for the pretzel kit. I've got a Figma design and I'd love for you to show me how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So can you see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so Mike already shared his project with me in GitHub beforehand. I've gone ahead and pulled it down, installed all my packages. Anytime I start a project, a new project, or jump into an existing project, one of the first things I like to do is install Builder DevTools. That's npm init builder.io at latest. And what this does, this is a new-ish product from Builder. It adds a bunch of functionality. You can create new apps with it or integrate with an existing app. Those apps can have Builder content already or no Builder content at all, which, did it go? It's going slow here. But anyways, it basically gives you kind of a suite of features to enable you to register components, recognize the components in your application, register or, show what content is in Builder and what isn't. Let's see, hold on 1 second. It is going slow. Let me start over and see if I can get it. There we go. It was not recognizing it.
Tim,
So
while that's installing, does everybody have to install Builder DevTools or?
you definitely don't. I just think it cuts a lot of time, especially when you're building new components or like starting out a project or starting your integration with Builder. So now that we've installed our DevTools, it went ahead and automatically updated some configs to my next config. But DevTools also is not only for Next.js. We have it for Quick, Hydrogen, a couple other frameworks. Definitely, we have some docs that you can check out on that. So I've gone ahead. Now I'm going to start my project. You can see here. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page. And it's going to start this flow where I'm going to integrate my code base to my Builder space. It's going to say, show my space. I'm going to authorize it. It's creating that connection. Again, it's automatically writing to my code base just a little bit to create that connection. And we're ready to go. So let's jump back into our app. It's going to also create this like kind of landing page called Builder Demo that we'll see here in a second that just kind of shows some fun features of Builder. But we can use this to, jump into our Builder space, or I already have it open. But okay, now on to the question at hand. So Mike, you want to add a review section, a testimonial section to your product page. And you already shared these designs with me in Figma. So that review or the product page, I know you already built in Builder. So we know that this is a component that's going to be dropped just in some Builder content. So I think this is a great candidate. I'm going to use our Builder Figma plugin. And here you'll see we have two options. One, we can generate code. So that's going to actually take this and try to build a component in code. And then we have copy to Builder. And that's just going to import this design directly to Builder. And so I can just use it in Builder content if I know exactly where it's going to go. In this instance, I know where it's going to go. It's going to be in Builder content. So I'm going to start with just using copy to Builder. see here, I'm going to copy it to my clipboard, or you can click go to builder. It's going to drop me in my builder space. And here we are in our pretzel kit PDP. So where on the page do you want this to live, Mike?
Probably right below all that product information and the add to cart. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So right here, I'm just going to Command V, which pastes it, and it pasted it below. So I'm going to move it up high. Okay, cool. So this looks pretty good. We've got most of the design here. We can kind of play around with it a little bit. You know, maybe we want to stack on tablet. I don't know, maybe have a max width of 80%, something like that. And we'll center it. But I mean, generally looks pretty good. How's
Yep.
that look, Mike?
I think that looks great. I think it actually looks so good. I want it on my homepage, Tim.
Yeah,
But the thing is, like, I want to add it to my homepage, but if I make an edit in one place, I want it to also, I want that edit to cascade across all the other places I use this, just in case when I do add, many other products, I don't have to recreate it.
absolutely. Yeah, so there's a couple ways that you can do this in Builder. This sounds like if you want to maintain the no code aspect of it, we can just convert this to a symbol, right? We'll come here and make sure it's a symbol model, and we'll say review section. Pops it out. So now we don't have the individual components in the flow of this content entry, turns it purple and moves it out to its own content entry. And then you can drop this symbol throughout your content and use it however you want. It's a pretty cool feature. We have a whole webinar about how to use symbols. We have tons of documentation that's really cool. But I know today we're here to talk about code gen. And so I think we can also, there's another way that we can do this where we convert this to a code component, integrate it into our application, and have the ability to edit there and do whatever it is we need to do, right? So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the component that I want, and I'm going to go to get code, and it's going to start our code gen. So I know we are using TypeScript here, so I'm going to turn that toggle on and restart. You'll see here on the right, we have this sync code feature. Because I have those dev tools running, I can actually just, once we're ready and this looks good, I can just pump this directly to my application, and I don't have to copy over anything. You can see it's going through some stuff here, like it's noticing repetitive blocks of images as well. So it's kind of commenting those out, just kind of, this is one of those things around when we're using these language models, right? It's kind of doing its best guess. And so sometimes it needs a little help. And it is always learning, always improving, right? So I think this is an opportunity. Maybe it's making a lot of good guesses here, but because we have, this is a component that's made up of kind of like our reviews, and then there's individual review cards. What I'm going to actually do is I'm going to go ahead and tell it to break it into multiple components. And it's
Tim,
going to...
while it's doing that, and just for I think this is probably very cool for the developers, for the non-developers, what's an example of like why we would turn this into code instead of just
Yeah.
there, we had it as a symbol, we can drag and drop it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's good use cases for each of them, right? But what you get out of this is now if it's a code component, I'll be able to register it so you can drag and drop it as a block in Builder, but you can also use it outside of your application. So it doesn't have to be, or outside of your Builder content, right? It doesn't have to be just within Builder. So we can see here, it broke it down. I did the prompt that said, make into multiple components. It made it into a lot of multiple components, which could be good. Maybe we can streamline that, but it's looking like, let's see, why don't we, I'm going to go ahead and actually have it rerun that and see if we can get something a little better. Why don't we actually say use props as well, and that's going to kind of hopefully clean it up, and it'll make sure to use the TypeScript typing and all that kind of stuff. So here we go. Cool.
Well, while this is
Again,
generating, can you tell me a little bit about what you mean when you say use props? What it for? I know developers here will understand, but just kind of.
yes. Yeah. So, these cards have these texts, they have the scores and stars and the users and stuff like that. Right now, it's all hard coded. And so we want to make it a variable that we can input, maybe fetch some data from our review resource somewhere and fetch data and feed it directly into our code so that it's much more dynamic. So we can see here, this is looking a little better to me, right? So we have our testimonial cards, which is the entire component, and it's broken up into these individual cards. And so now we have author info, which is going to be, okay, so let's see. One thing I want to do is actually create a score prop on testimonial card, right? So we can add that prop. And then I want to say like, have the image be, iterate map, or how about map over the score value? Let's see if it can get this going here. So, and again, anyone who's used ChatGPT or AI or any of these learning models, right? You'll see that sometimes you kind of really need to coach it. Sometimes it hits it out of the park right away. This is one of those things about AI that it's like definitely a developing and evolving thing. And we're constantly working on evolving our model that we're using. But you can see, okay, cool. So look, so this is great. So now we have our images, which is going to be the stars. We have the testimonial text. We have our author information. So I think we're in a pretty good place to go ahead and sync this to our code base and start maybe doing some tweaks there. So because we had the devtools installed, all I have to do is click sync to code base. And it is going to hop over to my code base. And you'll see here, now we have this testimonials card component.
Tim, real
okay.
quick, how long do you think, because you just did a few iterations with AI there, how long do you think that would have taken you kind of to get started without, or how much time do you think you saved there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, definitely, probably. I mean, this isn't too crazy of a component, but with all the testing, I mean, the big thing for me would be Tailwind. I mean, look at all these, fidgeting with all the styles and all that kind of stuff takes time. So, hours at the very least, if not, all day or something. So obviously you can see we did this in a couple minutes and it's already got us in a pretty good state, right? But we need to, let's go back actually and let's see add typing, because we're using TypeScript. Cool. So we want to make sure we capture those types so that it, conforms with our, with our code guidelines and all that stuff. And that's another thing that's like really kind of important, right? Like, again, this is giving a really good guess of what you need, but maybe when you import it, you're going to need to update to meet your specific class names or how your code. So I'm going to sync it here. It updates. Great. Okay. So now we're just going to make a couple changes, right? So this images is a string array. I'm going to actually call this our score. Or wait, let's see. Hold on. What did it do? So we have the score. It's going over the score length. The images. Okay, so images is not an array. Actually, this is going to be images is just going to be a string, and it's going to be the source set. We don't need it to be an array. Because the AI kind of expected the images to all be different, but we know it's just that star image. They're all going to be the same. So this looks pretty good. The author info, I think, actually, let's try to update that. Let's say turn author info into, or how about this? Why don't we even see if I just grab that block itself here. Let's get this as a code.
I think what you showed there is actually really neat, Tim, that this can actually apply to anything in Builder, even if it didn't start in Figma. You can just open up that code generation.
Yeah. And I don't need to like create a profile card component here. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to come in here and just pop this into place. Boop, 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 boop. And again, there's probably going to be some adjustments that go into this, but we'll get into that. And then I know, so now instead of author info, I'm gonna maybe do author name, right? And then we'll have an author image, or maybe avatar, let's call it, which is also a string. Cool. We have score. Pop, pop, pop. So I'm actually going to get rid of these images because we're not going to need that. So again, there's going to be a little bit of cleanup, right? We know that this image URL is going to be hard coded because it's just that stars, which I have saved here. Nice. Okay, looking good. Author info, we're going to replace with author and avatar. And then I'm going to replace testimonial text with just text, because what I'm actually doing, if you can't tell, is we have a, and then we'll replace this with author, right? And then we'll need to replace this with avatar. Avatar. I'm going to just call it source because I think that's all I have. Okay. Cool. So I think this is pretty good, probably. Let's go ahead. And okay, I know, so you had mentioned earlier also, like we want to get this code or get the review data from an external source. Like we have a different, we're
Yeah, I
using
think it'd be really
Yotpo
neat
or
if,
something like that.
yeah, I've got my reviews in Yotpo. I know other folks put their reviews elsewhere, but I've got this automation where someone buys a kit and then follows up automatically. I love it to dynamically update based on, the three testimonials that are most recent and best or something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah. So again, all we have to do now is just pop in our, fetch to that data that we're trying to get. I need to update. Yeah, React, we got use state, use effect. Just kind of update my code here a little bit. I think we're good. Okay, so let's go see where we're at. Now, if I pop back into my application and we go to the home page, now I can use my DevTools. So you can see we have in the lower right-hand corner, this DevTools pop out. If I click components, it's going to show all of the components I have in my code. And so I can come in here and we have, what's this called? Testimonial card. Where? I think, let me refresh the page real quick. Oh, there's an error somewhere. What is this error?
Line 56 might be.
Oh, is that it? Okay, cool. So come back. Testimonials cards, great. We're going to register this with Builder. Now, if we hop back to the code real quick, you'll see in our Builder registry, testimonial, we've registered this here. Good. We don't have any inputs because it's just gonna be hard coded with that data we have, which is great. But now if we pop into here, we have our symbol, but we also have our custom component, which, okay, let's see. Actually, I think I know. Now we need to make sure to import that component into the products page that we're on. So all we have to do is import our builder registry and refresh this. Cool. Now all of our custom components from Builder are available here on the products pages. Let's let this load. You can see our testimonials card. And we wanted to add that right above this one. So I'm just going to pop it in here. Nice. So we can see we're pulling in dynamic data. Like you can see here, there's 4 stars. If, I'm just using some like mock data, but if we updated this to be 3 stars or something like that, it should update in real time. But you can see this code component. Obviously, maybe there's a little adjustment we can make to some of the styling, but from beginning to end, pretty quick.
Yeah, I think having done that in just a few minutes and then registering that, and now I can drag and drop that, and it's connected to real data, and
Yeah,
probably
so
I
now we have
imagine
the three
immensely
stars.
faster than if it was than if you just started from scratch from the Figma file that I shared.
Exactly. And we can come in here, pop it wherever we go. Every page gets a testimonial. Everyone's just going crazy. They need their pretzels.
I think we should take a step back and kind of review what we just did conceptually, because it was really cool to see it and then just kind of show what we did and why we did it. Um, so we're adding reviews, and we're adding reviews because we believe that, on the product detail page, we want to increase the add to cart. And we believe that if we add reviews, folks will see this as more credible. So I just said, hey, Tim, here's a Figma design. I want these 3 reviews on my product page. So you just showed me how to quickly paste it into Builder. I could have done that on my own. So it was super fast. Could have just published it there and stopped. But I was a little needy and I wanted the same 3 reviews on my homepage. And so you showed me how to turn this into a reusable symbol and then add this onto the homepage, all in a no-code fashion. And so that I could just edit it in one place, and it would cascade wherever I dropped it, whether, new product pages. But then we wanted to kind of connect this to my reviews API or some other code that we had somewhere else. And so you integrated it with the code base. You added the integration with the reviews API. You registered it with Builder. And then now I can drag and drop this actual code component that's connected to an API anywhere in my application. I can imagine there's all sorts of logic you could add about what product it's, related to or what page it's on, et cetera, et cetera. And so
Yeah,
awesome.
and that's kind of also the big thing, right? Is like now we can use this within our code as well, not just the not just within Builder, right? But we can do both, which is great.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. For different use cases too. And
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
um, let me see if there's some. So the first, I kind of want to get to a question if we can, if they're kind of easier to check off on the way. So someone asked about are there other options besides Tailwind? Uh, and the answer is yes. And
Yes.
actually, maybe next time we open up the code editor, you can at least show the drop down of all the options that folks have. Because I
Yeah.
know Tailwind styling can drive some people nuts, and you certainly don't have to use
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And Brandon, I agree with you. The flex start on the stars is a good call, makes it look a little cleaner. So we got already cleaning up a little bit, but cool. Yeah, we can show that. So yeah, should we jump into the next part?
Yeah, let's add an add to cart. Let's add an upsell section in the cart.
Yeah, awesome. So, okay, so whereas before we knew we were going to drop it in builder content at first, and then we kind of evolved to use it outside of builder content, but we thought we were going to be using it only in builder content at first. This one, the shopping cart exists only in code. There is no builder content involved currently. So I know when I come here and I open, let me make sure I'm on the right element. When I open the builder importer, I'm only going to be using this generate code, right? So click that, it's going to bring us here. And yes, it's going to pop us directly into Builder, and it's going to pop up with that code gen window already open. And yes, good call. I mean, so our code gen works with a number of frameworks, HTML, all the major frameworks, Quick, React, etc. We have Tailwind, Emotion, any one of these, TypeScript, non-TypeScript, so all kinds of stuff. I do know that we are using TypeScript still, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that on while it starts generating the code for this. Ooh, and I think I'm on the wrong block, so I need to restart, I think maybe, or let's see, did it get the... Yeah, it has the image. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure of that. So this looks good. It's called shirt card, which I don't think makes the most sense. So we're gonna like rename component cart upsell. I personally like to add smaller, like individual prompts. Sometimes you can add a one or two at a time. Sometimes if you get a little too crazy with a lot of prompts all at once, it can, you know, get a little overwhelmed. We've renamed it here. And then what I want to do is we're going to add props so that we can make this a dynamic component. And it's adding the prompt, the typing. And then actually the last thing I want to do too is I want to maintain, we already have some values here. And so I want to like have those so that I don't have to, copy those over with the props as well. So what I'm going to do is wait for it to finish. I think you can actually do it while it's running. It usually works okay, but we can say add default values and add prop for button text, because I'm noticing this add to cart is currently not there. So let's see, it should be able to capture a couple things at once. So we got our button text, we got our default values. It added its own defaults. Usually it can grab what's in here, but sometimes I might have been a little removed from, I think it's because I asked for props before. So it kind of got a little removed from it. But again, we're getting pretty close to where we can kind of make it workable code. And so I'm going to go ahead and sync this to my code base. It's capturing the name of default props here. So I'm going to update that to cart upsell. And I'm going to sync to my code base. Now we jump to the code base. We now have our cart upsell. Looks pretty good. We have our default values. I'm actually going to update with better default values that I have saved. We have the product image. Boom, boom. We have add to cart, which is there. Price is $15. So yeah, I mean, this is again kind of going into that point of we're getting 80, 90% there. We're speeding up the process, but there's always going to be, at least for now, there's a little bit of that finesse or that kind of polish to make sure it's meeting like our code standards and makes sense with what it is we want to do. So, okay, cool. We have our component here. We're exporting it here. So I know now we need to include this in our slide over shopping cart. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to import cart upsell. Cool. So we have our component there. And then I know it is this component that I need to add in. I'm going to say cart upsell. Cool. I think it's probably getting some sort of type error or something, but let's go in here and see where we're at. So now cool, you can see we have our component showing up here. And just, I mean, just to show, because it wasn't maybe obvious because I didn't show beforehand, but that is the component that is showing up directly there. And I'm going to come back here and add a little bit of that, because I think it'll look a little better. Cool, cool. There you go.
Tim, that was super fast. One thing I would actually love is if there's any way for me to edit this myself.
Yeah.
As a non-developer, go in there to the cart. I know it's in code right now, but if I could drag and drop anything in there, that'd be really neat.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and go through similar flow before. I'm going to register this as a code component with Builder. It's going to capture all the props here. The product image is currently set to be a string, but in Builder, that input type is going to be a file. So we can upload and select an image. So I'm going to enable that here, and that should be good to go. We can actually have it accept children so that you can even like add builder content to it. I'm going to go ahead and add the children here. You just need to pass it as a prop. And we'll pass that as a prop here. And I think we need to have it as it's just going to be an array for now. Cool. And then I could make it an editable region in Builder. So now we've captured this component. We don't want to hard code it as a component necessarily in this here. So instead, what I'm going to do is in my Builder space, I've actually already created a model that we can use called cart upsell, which is just a section model here. So I'm going to grab the Builder component and I'm going to put that here. So now we're flagging this that we want to inject a cart upsell content from Builder here. We don't need this content right now. I'm gonna, I'll show you that content. That'll come into play here in a second, but just to show, well, now we just need to import our builder component from React and go. Cool. So, and then we just need to, if we look at our page here, we got a little that, get rid of that. Cool. So now that cart isn't showing, but if we go into our cart upsell region here, let's create a new content entry. Load the page. Now you can see this is an editable region in here, and we can go ahead and add either our cart upsell directly. And oh, these are required. We can come in here and I'm gonna.
And I imagine too, because that component is in a code component, you could actually hook that up to my backend and I could choose any sort of upsell.
Yeah, exactly. So now, okay, we don't have this. You can change button text or whatever. You can say, maybe if we want a different component, you can say, maybe if the shirt is in the product in the cart, you can change this to be like, add a pretzel box or whatever, right? So we can change up what it is we're using. We can have multiple versions of this component. And that's where that content, that block that I kind of deleted a second ago, comes into play. If you see here, if we come here, where was it? Did I close out of it? Okay. Right now, we're just saying, right now, we're just saying, give me the first cart upsell content entry that you have. But we can start doing personalization. We can start doing targeting. We can, I don't know,
So I could
add extra
say,
data.
I want a special upsell for someone in New York City versus somewhere else, or I want, if they have something in their cart, I can offer them something different and I can kind of do that all on my own.
Yeah, exactly. And this is all, you can do this all in server side. I'm just gonna, for the interest of time, we're gonna just do this. Actually, for cart upsell, it's gonna be client side anyways, because it's dependent on what's in the user's cart, right? But we can go in here and I'm just gonna show, oh wait, I'll just move these up here. And then add builder here. So what we're doing now is we're saying fetch, instead of just give me the first cart upsell content entry, fetch it based on some query that we add in here, or targeting. So if you wanted to add some like user attributes for targeting, we could say, locale, if they're in whatever US or however you break up your locales, you can say, product in cart, and you can say like if they have the pretzel box in the cart, then show the shirt or something like that, right? And now what that's going to do is we can add that targeting, and I've defined that product, or here I call it product, so we're gonna have to call this product here. So we can say if product in cart is pretzel box, then show this content entry, right? And if let's call this, hold on, right? And then if the product in the cart is shirt, we'll show this content entry, right? Or however we have it, is that backwards? I don't know. But anyways, you can set up that logic. And now when we refresh this, you can see, so we're passing in that pretzel box. We should see nothing. Content. Oh, this should be blank objects to initial value. Let's see, why is that?
I imagine we're only a couple lines away, and so I think we can probably
Yeah,
potentially
I
pause on
think
this example and I want to kind of quickly review what we did for the, I'm sure the developers were following along, but for everybody else, kind of just like get a sense for what we did and why we did it. And
There we go. Yeah,
cool.
something with the targeting I need to troubleshoot, but there you go. You can see because we're passing in that right targeting attribute, we're getting the right content here. So
Me do a quick review of what we did, just in kind of more high level theory. I said I want an upsell item in the cart. And so just immediately you were able to convert that to code pretty seamlessly. I think it took a couple of iterations, and we're using TypeScript and typings and things like that. But then you integrated it with the code base. But I wanted to be able to edit this item on my own. And so that's why you added that section, and then you registered the component with Builder so I could drag and drop and make the edits on my own, stuff like that. And then finally, I said, I want to be able to kind of visually customize what the upsell is based on what's in their cart. And so you were able to kind of pipe in what they have in their cart, and then I can kind of make those changes on my own, selecting a product if I wanted to upsell. Pretty cool. We've got one last quick one, and hopefully quick one, and then we can jump into all these questions. We've got some fantastic questions. And that's creating a homepage A/B test. Tim, I want to get more people to click from my homepage through to the Pretzel Kit page. And to do that, I was hoping you could help me create an A/B test.
definitely, yeah. I think that's a great idea. And I think I've been talking a lot. I feel like we've learned a lot. I would love to see if what we've learned here, you can maybe try it out and apply some of this and, the Figma import and all that, and see if you're able to set this one up yourself.
Let's give it a go.
Let's do it.
All right. Tim, can you see the Figma design I have open?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So I think I want this Figma design. I didn't use any auto layout or anything. I just kind of stuck this stuff together. I'm hoping to get this on my homepage. And so I'll open the plugin in Figma. I think I'll just copy this to Builder, copy this to my clipboard,
Nice.
and then let me go into my Builder. All right, I've got my home page here in Builder. And here's my normal home page. I think I'll come up here and create an A/B test. Tim, it's asking me to duplicate the content. Can you tell me a little bit about?
Yes. Yeah. So Builder content entries, A/B testing all works out of the box pretty seamlessly. It's pretty easy to set up. But what you're encountering here is just kind of one thing to keep in mind, which is your homepage has been live for a long time already now. And so it already has all these insights around conversions and page views and impressions and all that kind of stuff. And so when we're doing an A/B test, we really want to start fresh with fresh data so we can make sure we're really comparing apples to apples. So if you have a page that's already been running, what you actually need to do, or a content entry that's already been live, what you need to do is duplicate it, start fresh, and you can then create the A/B test variants, and it'll override the page that you have generally,
Cool.
and then you can run your test from there. So yeah, click duplicate, and that brings us here to an exact copy of the page, like you said.
Great. So yeah, I see this. I'm in my home page too. All this stuff is editable. I'll create a variation. I want it to be at 50%. How about I name this new hero test? I'm editing it, and then I've actually got that design in my clipboard. So let me see what happens if I just Control V. Let me see what happens if I just Control V.
There we go.
And then I think I can delete this section, and I've got that new. See what it looks like from mobile. Mobile looks pretty good. I didn't have any auto layout, but I think that looks great.
And you can see up here at the top, I don't know if you can see my little marker, but we have this picker here. And so this is where the kind of A/B test aspect comes into play, because here's the new version that you've created. And if you go to the default, it should have that original design. And so, yeah, now you have it set to 50%. Everyone who visits your homepage, 50% are going to get bucketed into this original version. 50% are going to be bucketed into the other version.
Awesome. And I'll just update this link and we'll be able to test the click-through rate and where people are going and stuff. That's awesome. And just as a quick review of what we did just then, um, wanted to create a homepage A/B test. So I created the A/B test in Builder, pasted it into Builder, and then we're ready to publish immediately.
Yeah, and I will call out that we started this A/B test part at 10:43 and it is 10:46. So pretty quick turnaround.
Oh, yeah, totally. So just a quick review for everybody, what we built today. I think we got quite a bit done in 45 minutes, frankly. We added testimonials to build credibility. We created a shopping cart add-on, and including most of the way towards like personalization based on what's in the cart that I can edit on my own as a non-developer. And then we created an A/B test on the homepage using a Figma design in less than 3 minutes. And I think a minute of that was explaining why we duplicate homepages. So I think we accomplished quite a bit today.
Definitely.
Let's take a little bit to see if we can answer some questions here that we have in the Q&A. And I'll just kind of go down from questions we don't get to today also. I can follow up with folks via email if I have, if I think Zoom connects these things. So does it build, thinking about the AI, does it build on top of the last code output, or does it build from scratch each time you add the prompt?
So it's going to build on top of, on top of the current code in your session. So if you leave or come back or re-import or something like that, it might start fresh. And if you've ever been to ChatGPT and asked the same question on a different day, sometimes you get like pretty different variations of hopefully similar answers. And that is the case here too. Like it is AI, so sometimes it's feeling one way over the other. But yeah, in a single session, it's going to be building off of what your prompts are and all that stuff. So great question, Casey, and great Seinfeld reference in the chat as well.
I did see the Seinfeld reference. These pretzels are making me thirsty. That's great. Um, Nadja via Dan asked, do we need to have a pre-installed Tailwind in our project to use Tailwind in Builder.io?
Yes. So yeah, using those different CSS compilers, you will need to have it in your application already to be able to like read it correctly. I mean, it depends, right? Like I think for Tailwind and stuff like that, yeah, you would, but for the styled components and stuff like that, the ones that don't necessarily need a package or something, it should work out of the box. And then also, of course, you can just use regular CSS.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it shows. We use Tailwind for this example, but teams use all sorts of styles and different ways of doing it.
Cool.
How about this? Go ahead.
Yeah, good. Oh, okay. So Randy asked, my experience with AI is chunking requests smaller works better. What are some general guidelines for the bite size that give the most consistent results? Yeah, I mean, I think that I've experienced that as well. Or I should say, when you're importing designs from Figma, like I've seen full pages with multiple components and it just imports everything and it's usually pretty good. Our Figma design element is pretty great and it's gotten a lot better. For the code gen, you definitely want to keep it into a manageable chunk. Like for example, our review component, which was a block that had cards inside of it. I don't know that I would go beyond that much. And especially if you have like multiple components that are like totally separated or have different I don't know, context or prompt or whatever, like I would stay away from trying to combine those into a single prompt with the code gen.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Let me see if anybody's asking about custom components, because I bet a lot of people are thinking it. Can you, or maybe is something upcoming where you can bring your own kind of custom components? So say I have a custom button and I use that in Figma. Is that something you can use? Or is that something that might be coming soon?
Yeah. Yes, I think it's something that we've been looking into for sure. So, and my understanding of how it works is like in Figma, you can create component libraries and eventually we'll be able to use those component libraries to inform your designs and all that kind of stuff. I'll be honest, I haven't seen it, but I know it is something that's kind of top of mind and that our team is actively working towards. So I don't know, Mike, if there was anything else you.
That's great. I think it was I knew it was going to be a question. I
Yeah.
found Zachary's question in there to answer it. It's a great question. It's a question that, pretty much every enterprise that's using this today is definitely thinking about. It's like, okay, this is great, but we have some of these elements already in our Figma design and our code. So I want it to match those. So yeah, 100%. Thanks for answering that. What do you think? We take a couple more questions and then this one has
Sure.
5 upvotes. Uh, and it's talking about, please comment on the accessibility for those with disabilities of the generated code.
Yeah.
ARIA labels, roles, um,
Yeah.
and is there anything? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we are constantly, like we referenced earlier, like improving our model and adding, trying to, add all these WCAG or just general like semantic improvements and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you probably noticed there were a lot of ARIA labels, stuff like that. We're not currently, there's no sort of like WCAG certification or level that we're like shooting for. But if you have feedback or input or ideas on how we can improve, we'd love to hear it. And that's another just like main thing to take away is that anytime you use our AI importer, either from Figma or for CodeGen, there's opportunity to provide feedback. And we love good feedback, but we really love negative feedback or constructive feedback, let's say, because we are trying to make it better. And this is like a big push at Builder. And so yeah, any improvement that you see or you can provide to us would be greatly appreciated. So yeah, obviously it's in our head and we're trying to make like semantic quality production level code, which includes accessibility, but any improvement or ideas that you have would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you definitely saw a lot of accessible code in there, just kind of straight out of the quality tab, and I'm sure there are prompts you can give it too. All right. Let's see if there are any of these with a bunch of upvotes that we haven't yet answered.
Alex, is it possible to assign icons to custom components? Yes, that's in our docs. You will be able to see it's in the custom component. You can create your own icons. Quick, easy answer.
Dan asked about using your existing components. You answered that. And coming
DevTools.
soon.
Use DevTools. Oh, that, yeah. And yeah, for the DevTools, you can grab your existing components in your app and register them with Builder. Existing components in your Figma library coming soon.
Another question on that exact same topic. All right, one more. I think I said that earlier, but one more. Let's take one more.
What VS Code am I using? I actually don't know. I think it was a VS Code default that I installed years ago. And I don't remember where I got it from. I apologize. I can try to look it up.
I think that's a good one to end on. If we figure it out, we can share it with folks. We've got a bunch of open questions. We have all these questions saved, and I can follow up individually with answers if we didn't answer them already. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you so much for Tim for live coding. We got a ton done today, and really looking forward to where this goes. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.